Well, during the ongoing United Nations General Assembly, Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye strongly criticized the United Nations Security Council for its lack of action regarding the ongoing deaths and destabilization in the Sahel region. Faye emphasized that the Sahel should not become a battleground, if it has not become a battleground already, for foreign powers, as their involvement has only exacerbated the region's instability. And he stressed that peace and security in Africa are inseparable from global peace and security. And he urged the Security Council to fully fulfill its role as a guarantor of international stability. Now, the Senegalese president called for the council to take decisive measures to address the dire situation in the Sahel, where ongoing conflicts and violence have led to significant loss of lives and regional destabilization. Now, this evening, joining me as guest to discuss this is David Matsanga, African Affairs Analyst from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you so much, Mr. Matsanga, for joining us.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me once again to speak to Africa and to the people of Africa. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Now, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, while recently speaking to the Assembly, criticized the UN Security Council for their inaction, when it comes to the destabilization and the violence that we've seen in the Sahel region for a couple of years now. But then we've seen the same UN as a body provide support for Ukraine in its war against Russia, Israel in its war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Would you call it a biased move? Would you call it preferential treatment from the UN when it comes to dealing with instability and violence, not even in Africa now, but, in the global space?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank the President of Senegal for having brought this type of arrangement. This is something that I've been crying time and time again. I've been telling the world, it looks that we in Africa and the African continent is second-hand. We are taken as second-hand citizens of the world. The conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East and elsewhere, when they occur, the UN mobilizes money, the UN mobilizes humanitarian relief agencies, go pour in. Africa is left on its own. So it is very good for the people of Africa to hear. And it is very good for the president, my good young friend of the president of Senegal, the man that we have brought all the way from prison and took over power. It's good for him to start telling at his age, take our footsteps and tell the UN there is bias. The 5 member states of the United Nations Security Council are biased. 2, the members themselves, the members themselves are quarreling. How will they make peace when all of them are quarreling? They quarrel. China, Russia, against Britain, America, and France. They quarrel in the United Nations Security Council is what has caused more divisions, more conflicts. They have not seen eye to eye on certain things on the continent of Africa and on the global matters. In Israel, they don't see eye to eye. In Ukraine, they don't see eye to eye. So, under Chapter 7 of the United Nations Security Council, it mandates the United Nations Security Council to keep peace. And the Senegal has done a great job. I thank the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Senegal, together with the President of Senegal, for the good work that they have done to bring this to the attention of the United Nations Security Council. We are taken as second-class citizens in the world, yet we have 1.4 billion people in Africa. We should not, you see, there is even a joke, Lekan. There is a very serious joke going on around UN that they want to give Africa 2 slots, 2 places to the Security Council, and then deny us a veto. We can't veto. It's like calling you in a house and tell you, come in my house, sit, you are welcome, but don't eat the food. So what's the use of us being in the UN Security Council? That was a great call from the President of Senegal. Thank you very much on that one.
So, drawing, or inferring from your statement, Africa is being treated as a second-class continent, if I could put it that way. But then, away from the usual ritual rhetorics of African leaders at the UN Assembly every time a summit is held, don't you even think that even African leaders treat themselves and their citizens as second class with the way they have carried on with their governance and the provision of what should have been democratic dividends to the people? I mean, in our own parlance, where we come from, we say, is the way you dress, that is the way you are dressed. So how would you even paint the picture of the role that African leaders have played in terms of, governance over their people?
You are right, they can. We are ourselves, we degrade ourselves before these Europeans. We degrade ourselves. We go there like beggars. We go on begging. This. We are the continent that still has green energy. We are the continent that has good ecosystems. We are the continent that produces the minerals. We are the continent with the best sunshine. We are the continent with animals to see. We are the continent with rivers that flow. Right? Why do we go begging these guys? We should say, when you touch one African country, all of us don't come. That's the only way to serve the Americans and the French, to give them notes that once you touch one country, Africa is not coming. But we ourselves, the way we dress, the way we, as you said in your saying, then the way this is exactly what you will be treated. We have been treated very unfairly because we have not united ourselves. We have left the African Union to look like a shell. The French have come and done very bad things in the Sahara region.
Well, why, Dr. Matsanga, why is it that Africa itself is not united? What are the issues? Is it rivalry? Is it competition? I mean, this is a continent that is vast, as you have said, with natural resources. The potential is there, the capacity is there, we have the numerical strength. So why is it that we cannot, synergize our resources, our manpower, our mineral resources to develop as a continent? What are the issues?
I think we started on a wrong footing when we were forming Organization of African Unity in 1963. Two camps sprang up, the Casablanca camp and the Liberia camp. From that time, imperialists, especially France has been behind our disintegration in the Organization of African Unity and in the Organization of African Union. We have had several attempts to bring this nation, this continent, these regional bodies, through trade, through passports, through visa-free continent. We can't manage. ECOWAS, for example, take ECOWAS. ECOWAS and Senegal, we are doing the best job, plus Nigeria, sponsoring ECOWAS. But the moment Nigeria and other states called in France to sponsor programs, to give ECOWAS money, that was the moment we are captured. Now we are a shell. Go to African Union itself. We are an empty shell, governed from Paris, governed from Washington, governed from London. People are telling us, do this. If you don't do this, we shall not do this. We have lost credibility, the serious credibility of being people who have no money of their own and begging for money from these guys. So if you're a beggar, you have no choice. You have to accept what you are. Yet we are not beggars on the continent. We are very rich in terms of our money. We bank, we steal, we corrupt, they take this money across to Switzerland. We take it to Paris, London, Washington, New York, and then these people get the interest. But we can't bank our money. We can't work amongst ourselves, remove borders, so that the food that is left in Uganda can be exported to Nigeria, and Nigerians can have food without crying without hunger hunger can come, will be cured by food from Uganda. But we cannot export a mere 1 ton or 2 tons of food into Nigeria. You have a lot of paperwork. You have a lot of air sky. In the sky, we even have boundaries in the sky. If you travel from here and you want to go from Dar es Salaam to go to Morocco, you have to go to Paris, then come back to Morocco. Yet it is on the African continent. You have got to go to Paris in order to come to Dakar. You have to go to Paris in order to come to Equatorial Guinea. Why can't we, as Africans, African Union, with better administration, better chairman, better secretary general, whom we want to replace? The current general secretary general of African Union is the man who has sold us that. We are sold. We are done. We don't have African Union anymore. We have a building with curtains and everything, but we don't have policy.
I want to believe we are not done as a continent, but then I'll still ask you the way forward, the way to break the stranglehold. We have the UK, France, in the European Union. We have the West. We have Russia. You know, we have the IMF. We have the World Bank. We have other institutions that seem to have that hook on Africa, knowing fully well that Africa contributes the most in terms of what is needed in minerals that powers the global community. How can we break free? Is it that we have leaders that are inept, or there is a way whereby we can scale over and break free from the stranglehold and probably focus on ourselves and see how we can build a formidable continent that can, formidably stand and fight for itself and be at par with other continents in the world?
Thank you very much. You brought a very pertinent question and a very serious statement you have made. Are we inept? Yes. Our leaders seem to be inept. We have everything that we need on the continent of Africa, but we are corrupt. There's a lot of corruption among African countries, inside the states, and that corruption also ends up in African Union. So what has happened here is that you go and borrow money from China, but when you bring it, you eat it. You are eating the money, but you are eating the money and the service is not done. So how can we borrow money from the World Bank, from IMF? The money we are borrowing from IMF is our money. You know what? How many people go for visas to go to America? So many. You find about 5,000 people every morning in Uganda at the American embassy going for visas. Out of that, only 500 people are given visas every day after they have paid $150 each every day. America makes money out of us, non-refundable. So when you are talking, you have relief. I've just seen you talking of relief. Floods in Madiguri. America will run very quickly. I'm giving you 600 million naira. Because guess what? That is part of your visa money. That is collected by Americans, and which is non-refundable. And only 5 to 20 Americans of 200 Americans are given a visa every day. How many of them go to the embassy for visas? Very many. So we have a problem. We need to restructure these institutions. How do we restructure these institutions? It's having unity on the continent of Africa. First, then we go out there, we're united. We don't need to go there. If they have touched one country, we say we are not coming. Sahel region, for example, look at what the army is doing. It's doing a very good job. I have been to Burkina Faso. I have to give a credit here. I'm sorry. Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali. Now, who is coming back to destroy? The president of Senegal had my words from my mouth. The people now funding Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other criminal elements are external people who hate what Burkina Faso has done. They are external elements who hate what Mali has done. And they are now funding even the terrorists like they did in Syria. You remember Syria was a very good country. Look at what they did to Syria. They gave arms to Al-Qaeda, terrorists, to go and fight al-Bashir. Look, we have a problem with external forces, and then we have a problem also internal forces. Look at your country, for example, the whole of Northeastern. You hear very dangerous stories coming in. 200 people taken, 500 people killed. Now, if it is something, he is right. We must ask the United Nations Security Council. Either we belong to UN, or we go back and be without UN.
Okay, so yeah, that's actually where I'm going now, because we've seen African leaders converse for seats, whether permanent or non-permanent seats in the United Nations Security Council fora. Now, they have made strong statements for that, and we're looking at just 2 slots that probably might be made available. But then when it comes to taking critical decisions for Africa, particularly, they might not have that leeway to do that. But then when we talk about multilateralism and the ability of Africa to partake in discussions like this that can help deal with the situations in Africa, how do we force the hands of the UN to give Africa that say, that seat, that opportunity to be part of the decision-making process that can liberate Africa, aside the talks that we've seen?
First of all, let me tell you the truth. I, Dr. David Matsanga, I oppose the 2 slots. If they don't have veto, even if they had veto, I want more than 4 slots which have veto, so as to balance the UN and the 5 permanent members. We are 1.4 billion people in Africa. Africa should stand up and talk. We should talk like Nyerere, Sekou Touré. We should talk like Gaddafi. We should talk like Amir Kabura. We should talk like Patrice Lumumba. We must not accept this nonsense of giving us 2 slots and telling us no veto. What type of Africa is this? Why should we go to a house for a wedding and then you tell us you have come for a wedding, but you will take pictures only, but you will not take the person you came for? You will not have a say on the type of woman you take. You have just to be given the woman, and then you marry, you take home. Why should we go to a house and we fail to eat the food? I am just asking African leaders, why are you even entertaining this thing here? Why do you entertain any normal African leader going to this organization saying, oh, we like this, we like it? You like what? We are 1.4 billion. France is only 120 million people. Why should they have a seat permanent?
Dr. Matsanga, is there a deliberate attempt by the world powers to inhibit Africa?
Yes, through so many ways. They are coming now to buy our carbon credit. Look at that. They are buying, they are telling us carbon credit. Now Nigeria is telling people, oh, we can sell you carbon credit. Come on, Africans, wake up. Carbon credit does not grow in the air. Carbon credit grows on the soil. These same people coming to buy our carbon credit, 20 years to come, they say we bought land. We didn't buy carbon which was growing from planet Venus. It is very wrong. The polluters of the world are America and China. They should pay countries, they should pay the penalty for polluting Africa. We are not going to sit here and wait, and then you see some leaders, some presidents running around, oh, we have sold carbon 5 million hectares, 10 million, Nigeria will sell all the rivers, good rivers, and the United Arab Emirates is waiting to buy. No. Let's be honest. They want to finish us. They don't want us to get out of conflict. They don't want the Sahara region to produce enough resources. They know what minerals are in the Sahara region. Look at Boko Haram, where it is occupying. There is a mineral called californium. Californium is a very expensive mineral which costs 1 gram. 1 gram of californium cost $28 million.
Okay.
Now you see why the war cannot end in the Sahel region.
Okay, Dr. Matsanga, now let's remove UN from this discussion. Earlier on you talked about how redundant the AU has been. We know the ECOWAS that caters for the West African region. We have SADC, we have the Eastern, coalition, and several coalitions for the different regions. How can African leaders now look internally and strengthen the fabrics of these bodies regionally, bring them together, make them stronger, and see how they can chart a positive or a progressive course for Africa, devoid of whatever it is that the UN and other international bodies will be willing to provide?
We need to go back to factory setting, reset ourselves, like China. China 40 years ago, my brother, 40 years ago, China was the poorest country on the planet Earth, sharing its rice with my country, where I'm born, Uganda. They were sharing rice, one rice scheme. Today, China, 40 years past, China is giving us money, lending us money, even sleeping on something, on more dollars than any other country in the world. Tell me, why don't we go back if African Union is not working? Why don't we change the charter? Let's change the charter to say self-governing institution economically to get our own money. Where this European and Western hemisphere hegemonies get us, we don't have the money. We go back and beg them. ECOWAS, East African Community, SADC, and other IGAD, all these organizations borrow money from European Union. So why don't we generate our own resources? Time has come for us to do one thing, reset, go back, create a renaissance, and we come back and do another thing. Let's have consensus in Africa. We don't have consensus in African Union. That if you touch one country, for example, you have sanctions against Zimbabwe. If Zimbabwe is not attending that meeting, the rest of Africa should not attend that meeting. We should all go away.
Okay.
That's it. But we don't do that in Africa. We have a very big problem, my brother. The biggest problem is disunity. The biggest problem is very big. Nigerians are not allowed to go to South Africa. They are being slaughtered, beaten, called names. You see, yet we liberated South Africa. Look at that. We liberated South Africa.
Okay.
And these are some of the things that we should be talking, and I want to thank your television station for putting such a conversation that brings out Africa. And let's speak. For me, now the children are grown. I am not fearing death. If I go, they have grown. I'm gonna speak about this. We should not accept 2 slots without veto. We want 4 slots with veto in the UN.
All right, Dr. David Matsanga, African Affairs Analyst from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Thank you so much for your profound contribution on the show. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Keep going. Africa needs you. Thank you for the voice for the people, the millions voiceless in Africa who have no voice. We shall talk for them. Thank you.
Thank you too, sir. And I must say that Africa, my dear Africa, of course, the ball is in your court. The world needs you more than you need the world. So there's a need for you to look internally and see how you can improve yourself progressively and bring about a change that will make you stronger than the way you are right now. My name is Lekon Obanjo, and I must say thank you so much for being part of today's edition of The Conversation. We'll be back some other time, and don't forget to visit our social media handle at News Central TV and our YouTube channel with other platforms that will have our contents there. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now. Do stay with us. We'll bring you the news at the top of the hour.